I want to jump into the nitty-gritties of what it is like to be a manager in a company like this. And I specifically want to talk about energy. I want to talk about attitude. And I want to just poll the group here and just kind of ask, when you're leading your people, like what kind of impact does your energy or attitude have on outcome with your people? 100%. It matters. Like, be specific, how's it mattering? And Carson, will you be my mic runner? Guys, give it up for Carson. She's over there. Yeah, we'll both run it. Go ahead.
An example is with our past director. He would sit in the office, never participate, never do anything as far as like during an event. He would always hide in the office, and I'm 100%. And that's just me, but that's me being in the event. Like even after I help the facilities clean, I'm out there, I'm fully involved in everything that they do. I don't just be like, yeah, you go do it. I make sure like I am involved in everything that they do in the whole part of the company. And I feel like that helps with the team.
I'm actually not surprised that you're raising your hand first, because how many of you have witnessed Stacy in her element at the event center? Has anyone seen it? If you've seen it, like make some noise. It's really awesome. She brings incredible energy. Like Stacy is the event center manager I was looking for, and I'm gonna ride or die with her like through this entire journey together, because she brings an amazing energy, and it's reflected in her people, but especially the way she interacts with her clients. It's really awesome. How else do you see energy and attitude impacting your teams? Communication? Tell me about that.
Just having a consistent, steady dialogue with your team, always communicating back and forth. I mean, it just shows that you're engaged. I mean, regardless of what level you're at, whether you're at manager or leader level, but just being proactively engaged with your team, and you do that through communication, I feel like.
So I love that. By the way, how many of you have actually had interactions with Corey and actually can tell that guys, in the accounting world, he's an anomaly. Not only does he listen to Alice in Chains, but he actually has good energy and his team likes him. And it's the first time, like accounting teams complain, whine, bitch mode all day long. And this one doesn't. How many of you actually seen that with Corey? Give it up for Corey, thank you. I appreciate that. No, very much. No, you bring great energy. Like I'm just gonna tell you guys all my dirty little secrets. For years, I hated accountants and my accounting teams. And it was largely, it seemed like they always had bad news, which is really a reflection of me. But it was the energy that often was communicated in. And I'm really fortunate that I've had two teams in my entire life in the accounting world that I love spending time with them. Corey's one of them. And for you to be this new in the journey and to have brought on a new team and to have the team like just literally lock mode, doing what they need to, and good energy. Dude, Reed freaking brings his dog in and he's got a smile on his face. Accountants aren't supposed to smile, is what we normally experience. So you guys have a really, really great team. One more time, I want to give it up for Corey on that. Thank you. It's awesome, really cool. What else are you experiencing about attitude and energy as managers on teams? Dan.
In my previous startups that I've done, someone trying to set huge goals and start billion-dollar companies, I thought it was all about strategy.
Yeah.
And finding the right business model and strategy and doing the right thing at the right time. It's not that definitely matters, but it's not enough. It will not get you there. For one, you have to surround yourself with enough people to actually get where you need to go.
Yeah.
And those people respond to your energy, not just your strategy.
How many of you actually have seen that people respond more to energy than what is actually happening out here? Raise your hand if you've actually witnessed that. That's a really important comment. Do you have anything else you want to share on that?
Well, that's been my journey, is just switching from like, I can get in my head and be like, it's all about strategy. And I usually I still have to do this most of the time.
Yeah.
Stop myself.
Yeah.
And go, this is about energy right now. It's about my
Yes.
team. It's about the experiences they have and how they can help solve things, not just me. I have strategies and I will talk to them about that, but the energy is far more important than just the strategy.
Love it. Awesome, guys. Give it up for Dan. Thank you. Dan, by the way, you bring really good energy. Carson.
So I've noticed that how quickly the team will read my energy. I tend to have a thinking face that looks worried, and often I'll have managers be like, dude, are you okay? And I just want to be like, I'm thinking, I'm allowed to think, because I'm fine. I'm not upset about anything. No, but it's like they pick up on your energy real quick, and as it moves down the levels, it's interpreted worse than it actually is. I feel like each layer of leadership, it's interpreted 10% worse than it might actually be.
And I want to ask you guys a question on Carson. When you watch him lead and pull people together, how many of you find that he's often trying to elevate the energy of a group? How many of you have witnessed him doing that? And I just want to also ask, how many of you appreciate that? that he has an intention of making the workforce, our environment, a better environment? Raise your hand. Guys, give Carson a round of applause on that, because that's actually one of the most important roles he's done for me in our years together. I'm sure we could get a lot of other comments on this, but here's what I want to do. You guys know that I like vulnerability, right? Yes or yes? Yeah, and sometimes vulnerability is uncomfortable, but vulnerability leads to the only intimacy that actually produces some of life's most meaningful memories. So we just going to get a little vulnerable. Just everyone nod your head and say, that's okay. That's okay. All right, thank you. I want you to go inside and ask yourself this question. As a manager, do you feel that you wear your energy outside to build up and motivate and excite your teams? In other words, is one of your management strategies to harness a positive vibe that you can bring your people? And if you feel like you do this at a rock star level in your department, I want you to stand up right now. Only stand up if you feel like, as a manager, you feel like you bring energy and excitement and attitude to your team. Stand up if you do that. There should be some people standing up right now, because some of you do this. Stand up if you do this right now. Own it and be okay with it. Not referring to perfection. So I want you to stay standing for just a moment. Carson is standing. I don't know why Jesse's not standing. Thank you. Why were you not standing? Because, bro, how many of you sense Jesse's energy around the office? When he's interacting and talking and communicating, he's got charisma. He's bringing good juju. How many of you have recognized this in him? Yeah, 100%. But why weren't you standing up?
I think that recently stepping into the position, I was thinking of my most recent energy that I've had. I think that since the time I've been here, I've brought a lot of energy, and I feel like I've been that person on the team that's brought things up. But I was just kind of thinking about the last few weeks and where I've been at. And I think that I've brought energy. I don't think that I've had it at the same maybe level as I've had it in the past.
Okay, so you're critically assessing, you're deciding where you're at. But I would say overall, I think that when you connect and interact with people, you leave people feeling happier and better off because of the way that you interact. Yeah. By the way, for everyone that's standing here, can we give them a round of applause? Give them a round of applause, because I want to tell you something. Stay standing. I want to tell you something about them. Max, did anyone tell you to be the way that you're showing up for your team?
No.
So why are you doing it?
We won't get any sales if I don't do it.
Okay.
I couldn't.
So you're doing it to help produce a positive outcome in your work environment. Yes. Do you take that home with you?
I think so.
Yeah. Where else does that show up in your life?
I think it shows up everywhere in my life.
Does it show up at the gym?
Yeah.
Does it show up with Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah. On the football field? On the football field?
That's where it shows up the most.
Yes. But I just want to say that Max is a great example, I think, of a quiet charisma. Max doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't hoot and holler and shout, but how many of you sense that he is intentionally leveraging his energy to produce a positive outcome? Yeah, I can tell you he does, because many of you here have some of the toughest jobs, period. Max has got one of the hardest jobs on the planet because his team responds above all to energy. And if you mismessage something, you could even release a spiff and do it in the wrong way, and people are going to get a downtrodden face. It's very hard to build sales momentum, and it is a game of energy. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that. And I want to acknowledge that Max does it totally different than Ryan. Have you guys seen the way Ryan excites and motivates? Raise your hand if you've seen some of his energy. By the way, how many of you have witnessed that energy and ever admired it? Raise your hand honestly if you've witnessed it. Look around the room. I want you to see it. Okay, so by the way, when I met you 2.5 years ago, you did not have this energy. You decided at some point in your life that you wanted to be that person that could create that energy, not just for yourself, but for other people. 30 seconds on it. Like, when did that moment happen?
There was definitely a part in mentoring you where I started to shift into understanding what it is that I could become, and really connecting to what it is that I wanted helped to flip that. But essentially it came down to the concept that everything that we create involves an input of energy. And I always had like pretty good energy, but I realized it was something that I could control. I could cultivate it, and I could push it to whatever level I wanted.
Yeah, and by the way, how many of you feel like Ryan is playing around in a playground of pushing energy and wondering how much is too much? Like, how many of you can sense he's trying to find the outer limits of it? I'm getting some nods and some smiles on that one. So guys, give it up for Ryan and give it up for everyone who's standing. Thank you. You guys can have a seat. What I want to do is I want to talk about stuff that we normally don't talk about at work that actually moves the needle at work. And I want to talk about energy. And who here has read Hawking's book on power versus force or has heard of it? Raise your hand. It's tough to read. Power versus force, raise your hand. Okay. Carson, I'm going to have you look up on one of these screens. I want you to just look up Hawking's power versus force, and you're going to see a million images and just throw one of them up. And I want to show you a thermometer, and I want to talk about frequency for just a moment. And I want to talk about that old school book from Rhonda Byrne from like 20 years ago called The what? What's it called, Kris? The Secret. Hawking's power versus force. Who here remembers The Secret? Has anyone, okay, raise your hand if you've read The Secret. If your hand is not up, you have missed one of the most important books of your life. This is definitely in my top 100 reading. Guys, I'm always reading new books because I'm a selfish bastard. I think that if someone dedicates decades of their life to learning a unique skill set, I want to go spend 5 hours with them and take all of the knowledge out of their head and literally, it's like, who here watched Highlander as a kid growing up? There can be only one, the dude with the sword that was 2,000 years old that would go around chopping off other Highlanders' heads. And then when you chopped off their head and won them in battle, you got their what? You got all their power. So I look at books kind of like stealing people's powers. This is a very complex version. We're just going to look at this right here. I want you to look at these words right here under emotions, and I want you to look at the scale. Because I want to talk about something. The law of attraction, Rhonda Byrne, essentially she gathered all the experts that talked about the law of attraction, and it's very simple. In physics, the law of attraction is what? Like attracts like. This number, we're going to refer to this as a frequency. As a what? Frequency. As a what? Frequency. And I want to ask, how many of you have ever been in a state of anxiety where you're like, actually, I have a nervous tick for anxiety. Anxiety is just kind of a part of my life. Sometimes I use it to motivate me to make sure I don't forget stuff. Sometimes I use it to like stay on target and hit a goal and hyper-focus. I'm not talking from personal experience. How many of you here can identify with anxiety as kind of being a part of the way you do life as a human? Raise your hand. Okay, so for those of you that have anxiety, I'm just gonna show you real quick that anxiety, this has a very, very low frequency. And I want you to look at this dotted line right here between 175 and 200. This represents neutral. In other words, the emotions underneath, scorn, hate, craving, anxiety, regret, despair, blame, humiliation, shame, guilt, all of those are what we would call a low frequency. And then in our culture, in our Western culture, we refer to those as like negative or bad emotions. I actually don't think they're negative. I don't think they're bad. I just think that they are a low frequency. And if you stay in anxiety as a normal way of being, and you're a manager, and you're harnessing a low frequency to produce a positive outcome, what will mean more in your management style? Your frequency or the things you do? What speaks louder to your people? Frequency or the things that you do? Hello? We live in a world where most Westerners would say it's the things you do. You guys, it doesn't matter if I'm having a bad day. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my work, and my work will get done. Great. But if you're in management, why is that not great? Someone help me out. Why is that not great? Your team emulates you. Your team is going to emulate you. So by the way, a sad manager will create a sad team, right? What else? What else is wrong with bringing a low frequency into management? Hello. Who are we thinking, aren't we?
I think at a low vibration, you probably make worse decisions.
We make worse decisions.
If you're in a state of anxiety and you're making decisions, all your decisions are going to be couched in how do I avoid risk? How do I avoid these dangers?
So let's make this practical, because this is not a wellness training on you being a happier human being. That is one of the benefits. This is a training on producing results. I'm producing what? Results. I want you to look at this. I want you to look at everything below the line and above the line. Carson is right. Everything below the line is where you exacerbate problems. In other words, we have a problem and then we expand them by we thinking of them. I'm kind of curious, how many of you can identify with a member of your team from time to time that makes problems even bigger? And they just get bigger, and then they talk about them. And as a manager, it kind of annoys you because it's kind of like, this is counterproductive. How many of you have people on your team that do this sometimes? Raise your hand. Yeah, you might have people. Corey doesn't. This is amazing. It's true. But what happens when you operate in a frequency above the line? What do we focus on, problems or solutions? Down below the line, we are going to expand problems. Above the line, we are going to expand what? We're going to expand solutions. Mike Runner. That's faster than you.
So below the line, Kris, you're a pessimist. Above the line, you're an optimist.
Yes. And by the way, when it comes to numbers, I really like to be an optimist or a pessimist. I like to be a what? A realist. Because a realist, when it comes to numbers, is about accuracy. But in my attitude and my energy with my people, if I want to elevate and if I want my people to find solutions instead of problems, I want to be optimistic in the way that I approach the game here. All right, so here we got our thermometer. And down here, we basically have the line of neutrality. This is the way I would do the graph. Down here, you have shame and guilt. You've got depression, sadness, and you got anger. That's kind of what's down here. Do you guys have people on your teams that are perpetually sad? Or do you have, I'm just kind of curious if you have people on your team or you yourself might be a little bit of a closet depressed human being. Depression is just practice sadness, lots of sadness, right? I'm talking about this because up here at the top of this thermometer, this is where you got to pass happiness. By the way, by comparison, joy is all the way up here. Hawkins says that then we get to like enlightenment and ascended masters and you get twinkled and all that fun stuff. But joy, excitement, love, these are all different frequencies. And I want to share with you something I've learned in my own personal life. If like attracts like, are we going to produce powerful results down here or up here? Which one? Down or up? Up. And if you're the manager, then what is one of your responsibilities? Is to be up. And that's kind of counter because literally the purpose of business all day long is just to solve problems. This is all we do. I need $162,000. I'm missing $52,000 to get to my goal. This is a problem. So we need to think about it. And a sad person is going to take that lack of $52,000 and where are they going to go with it? A positive place or a negative place? And in negativity, we expand problems. And here's what that could look like. Kris didn't get on that stage and do that one fundraiser. And also when I reached out to him and his wife to see if they would film this one thing, they didn't think it was worth their time. And I also wanted to ask for this other thing, but I was too nervous, so I didn't. That would be an example of outcome that we produce when we operate in a low frequency. We exacerbate problems. By the way, thinking is a very dangerous game because when you're down in this frequency and you're thinking, all of your thoughts are about making your problems bigger. So here's the question. First of all, who here can find any evidence in their personal life for any truth to what I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you can find some evidence of truth in this. Yeah. My question is then, how does a person raise their vibration? If you're in management, and we believe that we produce a happier team, better mental health, but also better results, it's like everything's gooder when I am above the line in a better way. How do you actually raise your frequency? How do you do it? Will someone help me write while I work with you in the room here? Who's my writer that has good handwriting? That person is, thank you, Corey. Thank you, guys, give it up for Corey. We're just gonna make a list and this is a mind map, so just plaster them all up there. So ways of raising your vibrational energy. You get to find the ones that work for you. One of them would be gratitude. Out of curiosity, has anyone here ever done a gratitude journal? Just kind of curious. I have a gratitude practice that I do every single day because it's how I start my day in a more positive vibration before I get to happiness and then joy, where I cultivate high energy. I'm sorry, guys. He's for numbers. Who here got it was an English major? I'm no better, so we're good. How else do you raise your vibrational energy? What are some of the other practices? Okay, positive books. By the way, I personally do, if I were to shit on humans, I would say you should read at least a couple books a month, and you should read at least 25 a year. Like if you don't have the practice of reading, leaders are readers. And everyone in this room is a leader, so I hope you're reading. And I would also say that if there's a genre in management and leadership that will help you the most, keep occasionally throwing in a book on positivity, because there's a million really great hacks on how to elevate your energy. We could go off a spiritual deep end, and I could argue that the purpose of life is to raise your frequency. But we're not going there today. We're just talking about being productive in the workforce. So reading good books, teaching the nature of positivity and good energy. What else? Meditation. Exercise. Okay, what else? Breakthrough, 100%. Great music, because by the way, is there some not so great music? Did you know there's a genre for depressed people that listen to a certain kind of genre that help them do this? I feel so awful about my life. I feel angry. There's that, like music absolutely can have an impact on your frequency. Butt rock. It can be. It can be. Go ahead, Christine. Chocolate. Yes, it's a natural aphrodisiac as well. It raises a lot of things. What else? Breath work, 100%.
Just practicing how I want to feel. So instead of saying, oh, I'm tired today, oh, I'm doing great, it's just practicing it.
Practicing feeling. I want to talk about practicing feeling for a thought. I'm reading a great book right now. It's a super short read. It's called Don't Believe Everything You Think. And the author in the book says that all dissatisfaction and unhappiness in life is linked to thought patterns. It's impossible to operate at a low vibration without, conscious or unconscious, thinking about things that make you feel that way. So this idea of practicing emotional intelligence and also practicing thinking intelligence, like practicing thinking things that are positive. I'm just going to real quick give you guys a little like game that I like to teach from stage. Scientists are measuring how many thoughts a day in your head. 70,000 thoughts a day. If every thought is 10 words, you're thinking 700,000 words a day. And some of us here are in the habit from a low frequency of defining our life with building block words like grief, hard, difficult, challenging, can't, don't, bad, problem. And if those are the words that you use to describe things that are hard, guess what you do to your frequency? Bring it up or down? You drop it. So play a game with me. 700,000 words a day, and they all have a point value. Love has a positive point value. Hate has a low point value. Can is a positive point value. Can't is a low point value. Every one of your words has a frequency, and when you string them together in a sentence, they produce a frequency. At the end of the day, did anyone here ever watch The Good Place? Raise your hand if you heard of it at least. I didn't really get into it, but I watched the first couple episodes, and what they did is when someone died, they would add up all their good choices against their bad choices, and they'd get a score. So basically, if you got a score that was positive, you'd go to a positive place, and if you got a negative score, you'd go to the bad place. I think every day we're giving ourselves a score based on the words that we choose. For example, I'm at the airport the other day, and there's a guy in TSA, and his brow is furrowed, and he just looks angry. And when he speaks, he says, "Take all your stuff out of your bag and put your shoes in the thing." And it's like he had said it for like the millionth time, and he said it militant, and I just sat there and I thought, that dude, 8 hours a day is practicing scoring a lot of super negative points, because you could tell frequency-wise, he was an angry little elf. Like he was not happy, he wasn't sad, he was just pissed at everything. But the only reason why he's pissed is because he leverages what kind of frequency language? When he's at the water cooler with his buddies, guess what he's talking about? Do you see that dumb shit over there that still didn't listen to me and put their shoes on the conveyor belt upside down? And did you see the other person that did this? And what are they going to do? They're going to whine and complain, and they're going to talk about the things that frustrate and aggravate. What's your point value at the end of the day? What's your point value? It's super low? Well, I don't know. I'm asking you what your point value is. Is it low?
My personal one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm high.
Yeah, you're high. And this is what I'm asking you to reflect on. You're in management. And your impact to unite a team to do hard stuff. We just talked about what kind of goals. Goals that are easy or goals that stretch us? Hello? Goals that what? If we want goals that stretch us, we want to pair that up with what kind of juju? Hello? Guys, we want to bring a really good juju. So what I want to really we're going to continue the list, but I want to just bring awareness to this idea that the root of every feeling you generate on your team comes down, it starts with thought patterns and language. Because thoughts become words, and words become behaviors, and then behaviors become results. And results over time produce the outcome of your life, the destiny, where you land, 20 years from now. What are some other things that you can do to raise your vibration? You got a good list, let's add.
Yeah, meditation. I want to add prayer to the meditation. Like
Prayer.
Like intuition, prayer, that kind of.
Prayer, intuition, like seeking knowledge from higher self, rather than just what I know, yeah? The problem with consulting your mind is it can only tell you what it's done. So you can only get more of what you've gotten. And if you're trying to grow beyond, if a goal is to get more than you've gotten before, there's a problem with always consulting what you think you know. We've got to go outside of us and start accessing knowledge and information from team and books, etc., so that we can actually go somewhere we haven't been before. What else can we do? A few more things, 5 more.
Evaluation.
You tell me about evaluation.
That means like reflecting on the why you're feeling that way, like what's going on in your life to make you act or have the energy that you currently have and how you can change it.
So having an awareness that I just want to share this with you all real quick. I did a 4-year stint of depression when I was a lot younger. And I'll never forget what depression feels like because I did it every single day. And it's back when I was in, junior high and high school. And during that time in my life, I remember that I would come home from school and I would just cry. And I would listen to super sad music and I would tell myself awful things about myself. And I was really good at practicing that sadness. I eventually got so sick and tired of it because it was even getting like suicidal. And I just basically said, you've done this for 4 years. Look at where it has brought you in life. And I made a promise to myself that took me out of depression. And the promise was this: I promise that I will never willingly think a negative thought ever again. It doesn't mean that I don't have negative thoughts. It means that when I become conscious that I am thinking negative thoughts, I what? I stop. I will never willingly think a negative thought. So help me God. And that's what basically cold turkey pulled me out of depression, because I made a promise to myself that I kept, and it was to reevaluate and become aware of my thoughts. 100%. Let's get a few more. What else can we do to raise our vibrations?
The biggest thing that I do to get out of that feeling is giving back to others. Like
Giving back, serving.
yourself, then that can raise my vibration, like that, just doing one nice thing for someone else.
Doing one nice thing for someone else. I love that. That's really, really beautiful. It's so selfish to be able to, selfish. It's so selfless to be able to do something for someone else. There's a young man, actually, I'm going to make myself the hero of the story for a minute. But just this morning, I was thinking about a young man that I met at Clever Summit who is so downtrodden. He's 19 years old. His family doesn't believe in him. He has no opportunities. And I gave him my cell phone number, and we've been texting back and forth, and I've been giving him advice and books to read, and he's been really responsive the last 3 weeks. And so today I said, if I were to gift you, a $10,000 gift of joining Superhuman mentoring calls every single week, would you take advantage of them for the entire year and never miss one? He said, yeah. He says, I feel awful because I feel like I'd taken advantage of you. I said, I'll deal with that part. I just want to, you're worthy of this gift. And he's so excited, and I texted it over to Christine, and we're going to get him just pro bono onto the program because it feels good to be of service to people. For me, it's not my loved ones. I actually think I personally raise my vibration the most when I give the gift to someone that I don't know, and I'm probably never going to cross paths with them ever again. So sometimes it's something as simple as a smile or a compliment or a nice little whatever, Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. Let's get a couple more ways to raise your vibration. Jesse. You're a nature boy. You get into nature and it elevates you. I 100%. I love that one. That one is so good. That's meaningful for me. I want to take this to a personal level and not a work level. Has anyone here ever participated in any of my pre-recorded meditations that we hand out to our clients and people? Has anyone here ever done that? Dan, I think you've been practicing. You used mine for a period of time, didn't you? You still do it. How long have you been leveraging that?
Since you released it, it was like a year and a half ago?
A year and a half ago.
Maybe longer.
And I'm kind of curious, what is it about the meditation practice that really resonates with you?
It very quickly goes through, like, if we look at kind of all those things on there, it kind of touches a lot of those. I actually do it while riding a stationary bike, like a Peloton, because there's a good energy there too. So I'm like getting some exercise at the same time and some endorphins. But to answer your question, there's a consistency in it. There's an imagination behind what's happening. There's an emotional intelligence that's happening in the beginning, going through the gratitude and joy and love and peace. Like those things literally physically changed me first thing in the morning. It was really interesting. The reason I wasn't at the gym is I bought I went to a doctor recently and they took my blood pressure. I didn't have anything wrong with me, but they took my blood pressure and it was kind of high, which is actually kind of normal for me coming to altitude. I was like, well, what can I do to get it down? And I was actually really curious. I was doing the meditation and I bought this blood pressure thing that came last night for like at home. And I kind of did the first part of the meditation and then fast forward a little bit to the peace part. And that's when I took my blood pressure and it was completely normal. It completely changes you. And what happens when I change my emotions, I think about my emotions like the folders to my thoughts. So when I'm in a state of, and you can have multiple good emotions at the same time, gratitude, joy, peace, love, like these are great emotions and it's really easy to access really good thoughts, positive thoughts, problem-solving thoughts. If my emotional state is, if we're going through like the list of like, I'm just feeling down, I'm discouraged, I'm in despair, I'm anxious, those folders do not have good thoughts. And the best way for me to switch my thoughts is to actually change my emotions so that I can get to the thoughts I want. And the meditations do that proactively. So I do it first thing, so I'm just always in that emotional state. And if I lose that emotional state, I don't necessarily listen to the meditation unless I'm really in a funk, and so I actually will do that midday. But I'll remember the thoughts and ideas of the meditation or kind of relive that to like, okay, I need to get back to that emotional state. And then I use that to visualize what I want and manifest everything that's been happening. And it just keeps that good feeling alive. So it's very game changing. The other one is on the intuition side, like being able to act, that meditation has been really game changing. There have been so many times where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, that's a good time to do an intuition meditation. So I just pop in the meditation, I go deep and I let go of my thoughts and I always get the answer. They're profound. How different it was than I was before, and it always works out.
I love it. Thank you. Guys, give it up for Dan. Give it up for him. Let him hear it. So there's a thought in the next 5-10 minutes that I want to end with that is really, it's for your teams, but it's actually for you. And I want to talk for just a moment about how we actually are manifesting the results of our life. Years ago, this is probably 12 years ago, I had a woman that was in my program. We were doing a 3-day conference. And she came up to me and she said, Kris, I met with the doctors and they just told me that I have an incurable blood disease and I only have a couple of years to live. And if you went to the doctor and they told you that that you had a known diagnosis, it was verifiable by blood, it was a blood disease and that it was incurable, how do you think most people would feel about getting that kind of news? That would be super devastating, right? And here's what's dangerous. The placebo effect scientifically has proven that when we do cure, when we do improve, when we do pursue a goal and get it, when we do something extraordinary, 72% of the results, at least in the medical community, come down to what? It's called the placebo effect. The placebo effect is what? You're in a double-blind study. Half the people have the actual pill that they're testing for efficacy. The other half have a sugar pill. And 72% of the time, the people with the sugar pill produce the same benefits of people that actually took the real medicine, and their health dramatically improved measurably, tangibly, and it was because they simply thought that they could. What I'm telling you is that you're the medicine. It's not what you put in, it's that God already built medicine inside of you, maybe not to solve every problem, because we're mortal and we're gonna die, but to solve a lot of problems. And I want to talk about this for just a minute because when we're at work, we always have this context of, well, I run this department and I want this result and I'm motivating my team and we have the goal and we're going for it. But aren't you doing that in your own personal lives too? Like how many of you have some personal goals that are meaningful to you of things that you want to achieve? Right? Mark's sitting here. We want to build Elevate into at least a $100 million company. True or false? True. Yeah. And if it's ever going to get there, it's going to require a ton of people to have something called what? Belief. You've got to believe in what you're producing. You've got to, because by the way, how does the quote go? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's your thinking that makes it so. In other words, this is the weird part about manifesting is that we are always going to be right. So by the way, if you're in a low frequency and you're trying to produce a positive outcome, what are you going to get? You're going to get a result that matches the result that you want or the frequency you put off. The frequency. By the way, a low frequency does not produce good results. Low frequencies produce what results? Low results, negative results, and bad results. So I want to share something with you that is actually really meaningful to my personal life, and I hope that you try it on and maybe it'll be meaningful to your personal life. I want to just briefly share with you a quick little system on how you get what you want in life. Because if you don't know what you want, you're going to get what you don't want. By the way, most people don't know this. Most people don't know what they want. And because they can't write down, if I gave you 30 seconds, could you write down what you want in your health and your wealth and your happiness and your relationships and with God? Most people couldn't. And when you don't know what you want, do you know what you get by default? How does the brain work? The brain is automatically familiar more, not with what it wants, but with what it doesn't want. So if you can't figure out in 30 seconds all your top goals, it means you haven't taken the time to really get super clear on them. And because you're not clear on exactly what you want, guess what you're going to get by default? What you don't want. Which is why a lot of humans will go from their 20s to their 30s to their 40s to their 50s to their 60s, and a lot of their life outcomes don't actually change. It's because they're using the same operating system and they're using the same frequency. You have to raise your frequency if you want to get better results. By the way, how many of you here in this room are like, dude, I have goals in my health or in my relationships or financial or with God? Like, how many of you here have goals of things that you want that you haven't achieved yet? Raise your hand. In my opinion, the number one thing that you can do to get there is what I'm going to share. And it may not be the ultimate answer, but it's been a good one for me. Can I share it with you? Can I share it with you?
Yes.
There are 5 parts to manifesting. How many? If you want to manifest, and by the way, so this is work and this is personal, and we're going hard right now. And by the way, you have a team of people that are going to help you do this. So you want to know what the system is. And I recommend that you pull out your pen and paper and write this stuff down right now. Here's the first one. When it comes to manifesting, it starts by knowing. You have to know what you want. And this is sometimes the hardest part for people. What do you want in your body? What do you want in your health? What do you want in your vitality? What do you want in your sleep? What do you want in your food? What do you want in your love life? What do you want in your relationships? What do you want with your kids? What do you want with your friends? What do you want in your finances? What do you want for your growth? What do you want for passive income? What do you want for retirement? Like, what do you want? What do you want? Once you know what you want, the second thing that you have to do is you have to have a place where you can practice. There's science behind this, but it's going to feel woo for just a minute. So please hang with me if you're super skeptical and super scientifically driven. You have to practice your want as if you already achieved it. And I will give you a little bit of science on this super quick. When inside our Breakthrough Foundation, when we ask someone, what's the number one limiting belief holding you back? When they share their limiting belief, raise your hand if you guys have heard us do this and you've seen this before, you've witnessed it. Just about everyone here has. When we do it, does it come out past tense, future tense, or present tense? Present tense. But then I'm going to find the origin. It's like, I'm not smart enough. That's what's holding me back in my life right now. It has an origin. Every time I go back to the origin, guess when the origin showed up? It's usually in childhood. So by the way, something happened decades ago usually, but they're still living with it in what tense? Present. And that's because the subconscious mind, scientists have proven it, it only operates present. It only operates in the now. The weird thing about sadness and depression is we're never present, we're always in the what? Past. And when we're anxious, we're never present, we're always in the future. But there's only power in the now. The present is literally the only place where you can affect something. So I don't have a time machine. If I'm sad and I go back and I think about something that happened, Miss Bohannon gave me an F in 3rd grade, and that's why I'm an awful speller. And I'm like sad about it, and I'm thinking about it over and over again. Can I do anything to change it? I can't do anything to change it. But if I have anxiety about something that could happen, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Can you change the future? Not then. All you can do is be present when. You can only be here. And some people aren't getting a lot of stuff, they're not getting stuff done in life because they're either sad or anxious, but they're actually just not here. They look here, but did anyone ever see that movie Click? Adam Sandler? Did anyone ever see that movie? Oh my gosh, it's a funny movie. It's great because he goes into Bed Bath & Beyond, and in Way Beyond, he meets this crazy scientist who has the ultimate universal remote because Adam Sandler wants a remote to scrap his other 5 remotes that he has to use to operate all his stuff, his VCR and his thises and his all whatever his stuff is. The universal remote is a time machine. And so Adam Sandler's like, there's actually parts of my life I don't like very much. I'd like to kind of skip them and just kind of get to the future. And what he realizes is that he starts fast forwarding through life, but his life results get worse and worse and worse because he's not making choices in the present. And at one moment he saw himself on autopilot talking to his family at dinner. He had gained like 300 pounds. They put a suit on him. And he's sitting there eating spaghetti meatballs. And literally as he's watching himself, what it means to be in fast forward when he's not present is that he's actually not present. So they watch how his family perceives him, and he scoops up a meatball and he stabs his cheek with it, just showing how totally non-present he is. People that are sad, anxious, that operate in low frequencies, you can't get a lot done because you're not here enough. You spend too much time not being here. Well, you've got to practice as if you've already achieved it, and this has to be done. This is the third thing. It has to be practiced with the appropriate frequency. Here's what I'm telling you right now. I'm Mark, and I want a $100 million company. There's 2 caveats to this. There are 2 other steps that you can't control. You don't get to control the how, and you don't get to control the when. We're going to call this the universe, or I'll just call it God. It's out of your hands. It's like what I said earlier about setting a goal. It's like, I know what I want. I want to be 3% body fat in 90 days. I'm like, you can't control whether you'll be 3% body fat in 90 days. You can control if you do 75 hard every day for the next 75 days and then see what that result produces, which maybe is 12% or 8% or whatever percent body fat. So when something happens and how it goes down, you don't have to worry about. I would have Mark literally meditating every day, and I would have him do this. I want $100 million. He wants a $100 million Elevate company, but how does he have to practice it? I did it. I did it. We killed it. We crushed it. What's the frequency? Does Mark want to put sadness on his goal? Does he want to put despair on his goal? Does he want to put shame and guilt? Does he want to put anger? He doesn't want to put a low frequency. What frequency will match this outcome? By the way, in high frequencies, you get what you want. In low frequencies, you get what you don't want. If he wants this, if he doesn't want it, he should practice it in what frequency? Low. If he wants it, he has to choose what frequency? A high. Now, this is going to feel highly manufactured. It's like, whoa, 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 Kris, I'm a doubting Thomas. I'll believe it when I... And I'm telling you that the creation of the universe, every story that you believe from any religion, said, there's stuff over there, and I have this thought, we should organize that. We should organize that. And then you spoke it, and then it was organized. That place is kind of dry. Let there be water, and then there was water. You have to think it, you speak it, and then you get it. That is the act of creation. If you always say, I need to see it before I believe it, you'll never see it, because faith is a requirement for manifesting. Faith is a requirement for what? Manifesting. Yeah, so the game is, I have the most amazing $100 million pool company. We're literally one of a kind. We technically have one competitor in the UK, but we are basically a one of a kind, and we're putting in these insane, like, residential, commercial things in residential homes with the pools elevate and do this all the stuff on the wave thingies, and it's amazing and it's incredible. And we brought innovation to the planet that people love. We're bringing joy, we're bringing happiness, we're fulfilling our mission, and we were rewarded. We did it. $100 million company. Take that frequency, let go of when and how, because if you believe it, because you practice it every single day, the how will manifest. I met this guy at this thing who had scaled a turbine company, looked at my thing, had all the contacts, was gonna level up everything 3x. He was strangely affordable. He fell into my lap. I wonder how that happened. Because I've been practicing a frequency. To finish on law of attraction, if I'm Max, and for us to hit our Q4 goal, Max has to generate $35,000 a day. That's what it comes down to, let's just say. Which is $1 million a month, which is $3 million in the quarter. So let's just say that's his goal. I would have Max literally, dude, we are such a fine-tuned, oiled machine. I would do this with my team leaders. We produce $35,000 of revenue every single day. We find the right partners, the people that are looking for exactly what we have. We produce $1 million a month, and we produce $3 million a quarter, and it works like clockwork. It's consistent. It's amazing. I've got the best team. They're happy. They're rocking it. They're doing everything that we want them to. We've got the most amazing momentum, happy juju, team's excited, throwing out awesome spiffs. Everyone's on board, and we're climbing the charts. It is so incredible. How many of you can feel my frequency? Is the frequency excitement? Yeah. Is it joy? Yeah. And in that frequency, practicing it as if it's already happened, it now becomes a possibility. And if Max believes it, then he's going to receive the breadcrumbs of how to do it. And next quarter, when he wants to do $45,000 a day, and the quarter after, when he wants to do $65,000 a day, the how will come after belief. Believe it, and then the how and the when is going to show itself up.